What does good acting even mean? I mean, we hear the term good acting thrown around all the time, and if you're anything like myself, you ask yourself, well, what exactly makes it good? Now, personally, what I define as good acting is a performance that has you fully immersed in whatever you're watching, right? And at the same time, the actor is able to elicit some kind of emotion or feeling within you, well, that allows for you to relate to the character that's on screen. And recently I watched this show titled Severance on Apple TV, and the actors on there showcase my textbook definition of what it is to be a good fucking actor. And you better believe that's what we're gonna be talking about in today's video. But before this, I genuinely am curious to know what you guys define as good acting or a good actor, because I really don't think there's a right answer to this. This is really just a subjective matter, and I just want to know what you guys think in the comments. But first, what the hell is Severance? Alright, so the premise of the show involves being able to totally separate your work life from your personal life. And they're able to do this in this universe through this brain implant. And through that implant is how it activates some neurons or whatever the fuck in your brain to totally separate your work memories from your personal life memories, ultimately creating a situation where there's two different lives happening inside the same character. Or as they refer to it in the show, their innie versus their outie. Innie being the working nigga, outie being the free nigga. And this whole process of the brain implant separating these people from their work and personal life is called severance, right? And in order to execute that idea well of having two separate characters being inside the same actor, like in my opinion, well, not even in my opinion, it's a straight up fact. For this premise to be executed as well as they executed in this show, you simply cannot have some sorry actors to support this idea. And I want to show you guys an example of this, an example of the juxtaposition between the innie versus the outie lives, right? One of the main characters in this show, Helly, she's brought to the point of attempting suicide because she would quite literally die, then have to come back to work again, right? And the main character, the work version of himself, he's, clocking out for the day, and he just so happens to stumble upon this scene, right? Now I want you guys to tell me in the comments, am I smoking crack? Or do the actors do a really good job at showcasing this whole severance concept?
Jesus. God. Help! Help! God damn it! Is she okay? Helly.
Mark, get in the elevator.
Helly!
Get in the elevator!
Is she okay? Judd?
Mr. Scout, you have a good evening.
Will do. Same to you.
For those of you who have not seen the show Severance yet, are you understanding more of what I'm, trying to get at, right? Like the actor Adam Scout, he did an amazing job at just showcasing the fact that there is two characters inside the same person, right? And I don't think that's necessarily something easy to do, Especially without making it seem awkward like a bad actor might have, for example.
Get away from that! Get out of there!
And another thing that I feel like needs to be addressed in relation to the subject of this video, good acting, is Milchek. The thing is with his character, he's not severed like the previous one I was mentioning, so he doesn't necessarily need to be a good actor in the terms of being able to pull off a performance where, you can tell there's two characters happening inside one. Instead, he utilizes his acting skill set as being like the perfect intimidating manager whenever he's on screen. Like this, the actor Tramell Truman, he really does bring this character Milchek alive and elevates this nigga, I think. Because whenever the character Milchek is on screen, I'm fully immersed with the show. Like, have you guys ever been at a job, right? And then you're, a supervisor, someone just higher in power than you walks in, right? And it's not necessarily like they intimidate you, but your attitude changes a little bit whenever your boss walks in. Like, you tuck your shirt in and shit, make sure you're looking good or whatever. You're like, that's the feeling that Milchick produces whenever he has a scene, right? But that factor isn't necessarily why Milchick's performance stood out to me. It's actually something a lot more personal to me. Kind of like I alluded to at the start of the video, another aspect that I define as, good acting is the actor's ability to, produce that sense of relatability, right? And I was definitely able to with Milchick. Right, so I'm not too sure if you guys could notice, but me and Milchick, we're black, right? And with that does come a unique experience to, well, me, a black male. And what the writers do a really good job, in my opinion, in, well, the writing of this show is addressing the aspect of when you're a black guy in a mostly white environment, right? And oftentimes, from my personal experiences, you will be met with some like borderline racist shit. And when I say like borderline racist shit, it's not necessarily some stuff that's gonna make you like directly upset, but it's some shit that makes you like, tilt your head and be like, what did it? Nigga, that gotta be a little racist, And how these situations that I have been in myself, I've never been able to like quite fully articulate how they made me feel. I don't know if it's because I'm, too young or whatever the fuck, but Trillman, with his performance as Milchick, he's in one of these scenes, right? Where he's being met with some like questionable racist shit, and he's able to express that emotion I felt like perfectly in the moment. I'm gonna show you guys the scene and then I'll tell you my story after, bye.
The board says hello.
Hello. I want to thank the board humbly for my recent betterment.
The board says you're welcome. The board is jubilant at your ascendance. It wants you to feel appreciated and asks if you do. The board austerely desires for you to feel connected to Lumen's history. To that end, please accept from the board these inclusively recanonicalized paintings intended to help you see yourself in Kier, our founder.
Oh my.
You'll find the whole Kier cycle. The board wishes to express that I, Natalie, received this same gift upon receipt of my current position and found it extremely moving.
I'm grateful.
Yes.
As a black dude, I really enjoyed being able to see that scene, right? Because the way Milchick is just acting, like I have felt that personally. Like oftentimes I'll be met with like some people who, I can see they don't mean anything by it. They're not trying to be racist with what they're saying. But for example, they say something to me like, hey Hayden, you don't sound black at all when you talk. Like, nigga, what the fuck does that mean, right? It is a little weird to like, I imagine it would be very weird for Milchick to see himself like retconned, in these photos that were previously of a white dude, but just replaced with him. It's just like, I am really starting to yap, and I'm trying to make my videos shorter, but I'm trying to connect that sentiment with, of him being retconned as a black dude just being painted over this white guy. I'm trying to connect that idea with the fact that people will sometimes come up to me and be like, Hayden, you don't sound like a black guy at all when you talk. Thinking like I'm supposed to, accept that and be like delighted to hear something like that. Like, what the fuck does that mean? You're just like assuming black people can't speak proper or whatever, but regardless, I need to end that point there. And if you see what I'm getting at, please let me know in the comments. And if not, I will expand on that in the comments and, be able to expand on my point. All right, now I'm gonna give you guys a little personal story on like me dealing with just like that borderline racist shit, nigga. Back in like 2022, I used to work for this internet company named Spectrum, right? And with that job, and in particular at the location I worked at, I, was in an area where there was a lot of older white people. I was in Kyle, Texas, right? If you've been there, you know I'm not lying, right? But regardless, I'm working at Spectrum, and then, an older white dude, he comes in, and, we end up chopping it up. Just like talking like for 10, 15 minutes, just about random bullshit. And then like out of nowhere, like this motherfucker like was possessed by the spirit of Jim Crow or something. He looks at me just like totally out of the conversation, and he goes, "My son's a fucking Aggie and I hate him." Right? I'm like, okay, that was random as fuck. And then we continued to talk, about whatever we're talking about. And then like 5 minutes later, the dude just possessed again by the spirit of Jim Crow. He looks at me dead in my eyes and he goes, "You look like a fucking Aggie." I'm like, bro, that's gotta be racist, right? Just the way he said it. But it's just like, the way he was talking to me, like it's hard, like, how I said it was hard for me to articulate how that made me feel, right? It's still hard for me to articulate how it made me feel in the moment, but like when I saw Milchek express like whatever emotion he was expressing when he was receiving those paintings, I'm like, oh my God, that is exactly how I felt when I met that random ass old nigga, right? It's like,